live. It's no, it's Wednesday. See, it's all one day to me. You do this stuff every day, and it all just becomes one day. It's Wednesday night tech talk. What's happening, guys? We have one person popped in there. So you see, I'm alone again tonight. Dallas is down with the Rona. I talked to him yesterday. He says that he can walk across the room and almost walk across the room without getting winded. So he's on the mend. So he should be back next week. And just living the dream, guys. Just hanging out, living the dream. So, George Bonnie, first in, brother man. James Elliott, Kurt Zimmerman, Numbnuts, Weird Flex, Nathaniel, Rolling Thunder, Unspecified Podcast and Review. I like that. That's a good name. Joe K. Mopardem, what's happening, brother man? Jesse Zankowski, that's a new name. Jason, yes, George Bonnie, thumbs up. 3 thumbs up. Let's see. Los Cadaver, I'm buying a farm to store more junket. Can you ever have too much? No, right? Terrence Seymour, Andrew Justice. Let's see. I'm trying to get into the. It takes a few minutes to get rolling when you do this stuff. It's like, you hit the go live button and you're like, oh, all right, let's go to speed. All right. Blues and corduroys. What's happening? Rusty Water. Why did rotary engines, bomber engines, die out? I've never heard them called bomber engines because they're really inefficient. The biggest problem with rotaries is that they make good top end power, but they make no torque. There's a lot of drawbacks to them. Who's the garage? Greetings, Earthlings. Apex seals issues. Yes, Apex seal is when you get into. I think it's detonation that knocks out the Apex seals on those. I'm not really a rotary guy. I'm barely familiar with them at all. There's a motorcycle channel I follow called I don't know if the name is Fortnine or 149. We actually, Kathy and I were just talking about this channel today. But he just did a thing on a Suzuki rotary bike that they marketed for a while back in the 70s. I think he called it the engine that killed everything it touched. So it's actually a really good video. Rotary is very fuel inefficient. Yes. Weird Flex 69. Thank you for the super chat, man. Corvair is at Corvair Ranch. They are doing a full rebuild on trans, block, and suspension. Guy who owned it before me couldn't even wipe his own ass. Heater vents weren't even on the exchanger. Yeah, that's all right. Do you love the car? You know what I mean? Do you love the car? Then don't worry about it, man. Bomber engines were radials. I never heard of. Oh, that's what he was. He meant radial when he said rotary. Okay, now I understand. Top of the evening, Throttle Davidson. Regular guy audio. You saw that video on the Gearhead Audio, whatever, nerd, love learning shit. You mean the one about the rotary motorcycle? It was a good video. The guy does, he's a little weird, but he does great videos. Great videos. Wendy, what's happening, Wendy English? You sent me a picture of it on Instagram. Brother man, I never get on Instagram. Okay. I'm never on the Facebook. There's Uncle Tony's Garage page. I'm never on there. I don't even know the password to it. I don't know the password to our Instagram. I'm completely out of the loop. Uncle Kathy pops in there. Uncle Crystal pops in there. I don't. So anything that happens on Instagram, I have no idea. I don't even know how Instagram works. People have tried to explain it to me. I can't absorb it. And Facebook is just such a clusterfuck. I don't go in. So you can send all of the things you want, but I never see them. Let's see. Brian Nikolai, is Screaming Eagle settings the same settings as the Dynatech settings for the Harleys? The 1 setting on the electronic timing, bro, I don't know. That's a damn good question. Somebody, I'm sure, in here can answer that for you, but I cannot. Mike Fredericks. Hi, Tony. So the Brunt Brothers was kind of a hoax. It wasn't a hoax. The Brunt Brothers is Cliff Gromer. Cliff Gromer used to write under all different names, and the Brunt Brothers was one of them. Yeah, there was so many. It was Al Dente. Oh God, the Brunt Brothers. There's like 4 of them, 5 of them, but I can't remember. It's been almost 40 years. I don't remember all of them, but those were different names that Cliff Gromer used. Big Mike's Hoopty Barn. Several of us just finished up a live chat with John Wilburn and Frank Parks. Frank Parks, the Mopar guy. Oh yeah, really? I didn't know they were having one. I would have jumped in there. Benji, the cool thing about rotary engine is every part of the cycle happening at the same time. They're neat, man, but you know, they're just inefficient. They're just inefficient. Rusty, what is Facebook only magnifies your fears and hatreds? That's what it does. You're exactly right. That's exactly right. F Swatter White 3 sent the $5 super chat. Thank you, F Swatter 3 White 3. Thank you. Let's see. Cosmic Silence. Hey, Tony, I'm building a 350 Chevy for the first time. Any way you remove and install wrist pins at home without a machine shop? Yeah, you know, I do that, but I don't recommend it. I do it. Okay, I mean, you can do it with a MAP gas torch. If you can heat the big end of the rod, you've got to fix the piston in like a vise so that it can't, you know, so that you're not going to crush it, move it, you know, distort it. It's tricky. You really should have a fixture to stop the pin. So when you're like, okay, so taking it out is fairly simple. You know, if you could secure the piston, you heat the small end of the rod till it's like almost a dull red. Don't go too far with it because then you take the temper out of the rod. But you heat the small end of the rod to like a dull red with the piston on there, and then you can tap the pin through, and it's easy enough to take it apart. But when you put it back together again, the trick is having a stop for the pin so it doesn't go too far, right? Or you know that you've gone far enough, and then it has to be done like that, because literally as soon as the pin finds its hole, it's home in the rod closes down around it. So for the money that a machine shop charges, I would just bring it to a machine shop. I do them at home, but I don't recommend anybody else ever doing it at home. Let's see. You love the magazine history? I try to forget the magazine history. Let's see. Eraserhead. Yeah. I remember that. Did you ever see the movie Eraserhead? Olive, what's happening, Olive? How are you, my love? Okay, Lich King, UT, on your ignition timing for power video, you showed welding the advanced slots to lock the distributor in. Wouldn't it be better to open the slot to allow more max advance? Well, no, you're limiting the advance. So this way you can put more initial in. So the slot allows the centrifugal to add, and let's go with round numbers because they're all different. All right, but let's just use round numbers. Let's say you want 30 degrees total. Okay, the slots, the advanced slots, will give you 20 degrees. So if you want 30 degrees total and you get 20 degrees of centrifugal, that means you have to set your initial at 10 to get your total at 30. But 10 is lazy. You hit the gas and 10 degrees is lazy. You want it to be closer to 20 degrees on your hit, okay, on the initial hit. So you weld half the slot closed So you only get 10 degrees of centrifugal. So now you got 20 initial, which gives you a jump, you know what I mean? Gives you a snappy throttle response. 10 degrees mechanical for a total of 30. And then you would change the springs, the stiffer, lighter, whatever you're going to do to make it come in sooner or later, that extra 10 degrees. So that's why you weld the slots. I hope that made sense. Did that make sense? I don't know if it did or not. Rob, oh yes, Rob Royce. You know, I was just thinking that. Horus Rius de Estoologista. Exactly. Thank you. I'm glad somebody said that. Daniel Jennings, what are the issues you have to deal with on a normally aspirated injected nitro motor compared to blown injected? The biggest problem is the lack of, and it's everything we've been talking about, the carburetors. The biggest problem with injected nitro is a lack of heat. See, the blower, right, whipping the fuel into, so nitro, you spray nitro into the top of the blower, it's getting whipped up, it's getting broken into small particles. And then there's heat involved in there also. And the plenum of the manifold is hot. So it lightens it up and makes it easier to fire. On an injected nitro motor, you don't have any of that. An injected nitro motor, you just throwing the nitro in at ambient temperature, you're sending it through the nozzle into the motor cold. So it has the droplets are big and they don't light very easily. You need a lot of heat. Injected, and so I mean, if you ever notice an injected nitro motor, they always drop cylinders. Very, very rare to see injected. Well, I shouldn't say that. In the back in the day, it was very rare to see injected nitro motors actually, make a full run on all 8 cylinders. But in I guess it was about 1990, 91, 92, they started starving the motors. So what they would do is okay, the car would leave, right? It would be fat on the initial hit. Now, where the motor would usually, as a load goes away and the motor would start to want to drop a cylinder, they would time that to take fuel away, make it lean and angry. So then once it was lean and back hitting hard, they'd take fuel away from it. They would add fuel to it again. And if you watch those cars from and I haven't seen an injected nitro car run in 20 something years, right? But if you watch the cars from those days, you see as they were going down the track, the header flames would go like this as they were going down the track. And that was because they were going lean, fat to keep the temperature high and get that fuel burned. And that's the essential difference between an injected nitro and a blown nitro motor. Injected nitro motors are extremely difficult to tune. Let's see. Salvatore G. Tony, have you ever been in one of the Hellcat powered cars? I have not. But I've been in 700 horsepower cars. So, I mean, the Hellcat's not going to be a new experience for me. Fubar. Ari, what's happening, Ari? And Fubar just put the link to our fancy futuristic merch. Yes, very futuristic. And Zero. Oh, okay. All the guys are here. Excellent. Throttle Davidson talking about the 200-mile car back in the day. Buddy ran out of gas in an old C10 van. I used 2 cans of hairspray to get us home. True story. Opened a doghouse, and when we went, I did the exact same thing, but with hairspray on a pizza delivery vehicle. We were like, I was like 15. I used to hang out with this kid named Anthony Michio. He was older. He had a 383 Challenger, and he used to deliver pizza for this place called Caesar's Pizza. And they had a Dodge van that they used for delivering pizza with. So he made his delivery, was on his way back. I was riding shotgun with him and ran out of gas just before, it was on Armstrong Avenue, just before we could pull into the gas station. And we're like, well, what do we do? Cranking it, nothing's going to happen, right? So what I did was some girl had been in the truck before him, and she had a can of hairspray. She left a can of hairspray in this thing. So we took the doghouse off, took the top of the carburetor off, and I sprayed hairspray in it, and we drove the thing into the gas station on the hairspray. So yeah, I mean, you can run an engine on anything. Oh, more problem. Your potato kind of runs on Aquanet hairspray. Well, there you go. You can run a Dodge Van on it too. Nathan Carey, Tony, what year is the 318 Bottle Rocket? It's the 72. It's the engine that came in the car. Rob 68. Hello, UT from Staten Island, New York. Your old Mustang friend. Great job you're doing on your channel. Mustang Rolly. What's happening, man? Wait a minute. Rolly, you mean Roland? Okay, Paul Capizzola, how high of a compression ratio is used in an injected nitro mill, no blower? Okay, on blown nitro motors, the compression ratio on when you're talking about compression ratio on a blown motor, a blown nitro motor, nobody ever uses the compression ratio number. You classify it by how far out the piston is, and generally speaking, and this is from back when I was doing this stuff. Now I have no idea what they're doing today, but back when I was doing this stuff in the 90s or so, the standard setup was 180 out. So you'd have a piston that was 180 out of the hole. You had 175, 177 cc combustion chamber, and the compression ratio worked out to be. This was at we were using the 4.185 bore, the 3/4 stroke crank, 4.5-inch stroke crank, 180 out piston, and the compression ratio was between 6.5 and 7-1. Now, on an injected nitro motor, I don't know how high the piston was out, but they were running compression ratios in the 10.5 to 1 range. So again, see, does that make any sense, or did I just get all convoluted? I don't know. Let's see. Douglas Filer, will Bottle Rocket run with happy gas or nitrous oxide this year? Yes, it'll run with nitrous oxide just as soon as we get everything else squared away. I'm not going to spray the thing while it's breaking parts and having all kinds of crazy issues. Everything we've done so far is without hitting the button, and I'm not going to hit the button until the car has gone 2 or 3 runs, point A to point B, with no issues. Once we get 2, 3 runs, point A to point B, then we'll start spraying it. Nope, right on. I don't know what you mean, Paul. Lich King, UT, wouldn't it be better to make the advance slot longer overall to get 25 or even 30 centrifugal advance? I see new coil unplug cars run to 45, 50-degree max timing. Yeah, but see, here's the thing, though. It's like the super stock cars. When we were screwing out the super stock cars, the ignition boxes were set to run like 58 degrees on the initial hit and then bring it back instantly before detonation had a chance. And that's the modern fuel injected cars do that also. They'll spike the advance at certain RPMs or under certain conditions and then bring it right back instantly. And you don't have that luxury with a distributor. The advance waiting on a distributor and with fuel injection, you have basically an eternal, or not eternal, an infinite enrichment zone, right? From fat to lean. You go from fat to lean and any place in between instantly, right? So with a fuel injection, and this is where fuel injected cars have a benefit. So you slam the throttle on a fuel injected car, okay? So let's just say, again, using round numbers. You slam the throttle on a fuel injected car, you've got 20 initial. As soon as you open a throttle, slam it, it goes full fat, and you get 55 degrees, 50 degrees. You get 50 degrees of lead. And that gets everything, the initial hit, it gets everything moving. As the load is being absorbed, now the timing is brought back to, let's say, 30 degrees, and fuel comes back. So it's always, and the computer is always balancing the fuel enrichment and the timing in that zone to keep everything in its optimum range. That is where a well thought out fuel, a full service computer system, fuel injection system, it has a benefit over a carburetor, because a carburetor can't make those swings in enrichment like that, and a distributor can't make those swings in timing. So you can't treat a carbureted car like you can an injected car, or electronic fuel injected car. Nathan Kerry, I have a lot of respect for you. You're a smart Mopar guy, and Battle Rocket is awesome build no matter what anyone says. The 318 left both front tires off the ground. You're a smart guy. The car runs hard. It just breaks. You know what I'm saying? It's that simple. The car runs really good, but we've had a lot of bad luck with it. Just, things that we have no control over. Let's see. Paul Capizzola, so could you increase the compression ratio on an injected nitro mill to create the heat required to prevent dropping cylinders? No, there's a diminishing return to compression on a fuel motor, especially when you consider the amount of liquid that's actually being put into the engine. When you're talking about, here's the thing, when you're talking about compression ratio on a nitro motor, nitro motors operate on a completely different frequency than any other type of internal combustion engine. So when you're talking about compression ratio, you're talking about on a gasoline engine or an alcohol engine even, you're only taking the swept area, right, into consideration for, so you understand what I'm saying? You're not taking any other factor except the size of the combustion chamber, the stroke of the piston, and the space that's in between. But on a nitro motor, any injected or blown, you're adding so much liquid fuel that has to be taken into consideration. And that's why you don't really talk compression ratio with nitro motors. Does that make any sense? You're pouring pure, raw liquid into the engine. That raw liquid is as solid. It actually adds to the compression ratio of the engine, and that's why they're phrased in terms of distance out of the piston as opposed to compression ratio. Rocky Myers, Tony, what was the true story on the Wayne County Speed Shop Mopar Pro Stock team? They had a break-in when Glidden Sun rattled everybody else about nitrous. They had, their blocks were cast where the water jackets were able to hold the nitrous. Let's see. Joe K, Tony, your thoughts on batteries? I don't think that's ever been generally discussed on this channel. AGM versus flooded acid, CCA, etc. I have to replace another one soon and thought it could be a topic. Joe K, you must be reading my mind, okay? Because here's the thing, right? I'm forever running out of battery. I've always got at least one dead battery in my life. When you have as many cars and trucks and everything else in your life as I do, there's always something with a dead battery. It's driving me crazy. So I'm going to actually work on a battery rejuvenation. I've been looking into this. I've watched a few videos, read a few things, and I'm gonna experiment with some battery rejuvenation, desulfating a battery to bring them back to life. I don't know if it works. I don't know if it doesn't work, but I'm very soon, like literally, man, I'm telling you, like a couple of days ago, I was just watching videos on this, putting together, okay, how are we going to do this on our channel? So yeah, absolutely. We're going to be doing something on that. Johnny Blaze, 86 Lincoln 5-liter. Motor keeps surging on idle. I changed the IAC, etc. No vacuum leaks. Thoughts? That was a common thing on the EQ4s, man. Somebody who's in here, oh God, Andy from Unity Motorsports would definitely know what the answer to that is. I came across it so many times back in the day, but literally, man, it's been like 35 years since I shouldn't say 35 years since I touched an EEC4, but I don't remember what that. It's a common problem. It's a common problem, and somebody here will jump in there. Surging 5-liter EEC4 5-liter. Who knows the answer there? And it's not a vacuum leak. I know it's not a vacuum leak. I know it's not the IAC either. Moisture in the TPS, that's possible. Let's see. Lich King, okay, so I can't treat a carbon points car like a modern one. Can I still benefit from having more overall timing, say 35 overall instead of 30 with 25 centrifugal and 10 base? Okay, that's a complicated question because different engine. Okay, maximum advance is dictated the amount of ignition timing maximum that your engine is going to work best at is dictated mostly by two factors, like compression ratio and bore diameter. So a higher compression ratio engine will tolerate less initial advance before you run into detonation than a lower compression ratio engine, and a larger bore engine will accept more total advance than a smaller bore engine. And when you get to a smaller bore engine, the smaller the bore, the advance really starts to work against the engine where the piston's actually fighting its way up. So what I would do, because I have no idea what combination you have or what circumstance, how your car is run or anything like that, is I would start hitting forums and I would be asking people who run similar engines, combinations, cars, situations to yours and get the consensus and err on the conservative side of the consensus. I mean, honestly, I wish I could get, like, there's no magic answer. There's no like one size fits all. Oh, here's your optimum timing. Here's your optimum curve. It's going to differ from engine to engine and purpose to purpose and cam to cam and induction systems. It's all going to be different based on the specifics. So you need to find somebody who's got experience with the thing that you are working with and pick their brain on that. Joel Woody, thank you, sir. New in Tennessee, was wondering if there are any Mopar graveyards here. You're doing another open house. Want to come see the shop and get some merch? It's the open house is up in the air right now. I'm waiting for like Dallas or one of the junkyard guys has got to organize it. I'm too busy, man. I got too many things going on. But when we do have something, it'll be announced. Thank you for the super chat, though, bro. Welcome to Tennessee. Welcome to Tennessee. Lich King, thanks for your help, UT. I'll keep digging and run the near stock tune for now. I just have trouble finding other points people. Most roll them out right away. It doesn't make any difference. Forget about points, right? Or electronic. The points is just a triggering device. It has nothing to do with optimum timing or optimum curve or anything like that. So just pretend you've got an electronic ignition. If people like shun you because you've got points, just lie to them and tell them you've got an electronic ignition, because it does not make any difference in this scheme of that, right? Of what optimum timing and so on and so forth is. So yeah, don't let that, don't isolate yourself because of your triggering device. Don't worry about it. Super Galaxy Garage, no mass airflow sensor on 86 Town Car. It uses a map sensor, right? Mr. Will, how is Dallas' family doing? I talked to Dallas. I messaged him yesterday, and Dallas says that he can now walk across the room without getting winded. So he's on the mend. He's doing better. I'm sure he'll be back here next Wednesday. John Mouts, I've watched your videos on adjusting kickdown linkage on Mopar. Should the trains be in park? Driver doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Dakota's timeout. Tony, I'm enjoying these gas mileage videos. Seems like everyone else is too. I agree. Any more to come, or are you going to do any tests that show us how to get better mile per gallon out of old cars? Yeah, it's a lot more popular than I thought it would be, and I don't think it's so much. I don't think it's so much has to do with actual gas mileage, but it has to do with the science and the theory and practice of these things. And it's something that nobody really talks about. Everybody's consumed with the glory stuff, right? You know, let's make big horsepower, and who doesn't love making big horsepower, right? But you know, big horsepower is sexy. But if you're a gearhead, man, you enjoy all aspects of it, and I think that's what sets this channel apart from the others. Most YouTube channels are focused on just the glory stuff or the sexy stuff or the adventure stuff, and we're more focused on the science and the technology of it all. So it's not. I don't think the popularity of the gas mileage thing has so much to do with the actual gas mileage, but to do with the science, theory, practice, myths, and so on and so forth that revolve around all of it. And yeah, I plan on doing more of it. I because you know what, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it, and I'm anxious to start doing some experiments. I just can't devote my time right now to actual physical experiments because I've got other cars. Like I spent 4 or 5 hours today welding on a door jamb on slag hammer. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I just don't have the time to like really focus in and make stuff or anything. For a fuel economy build, but right. I absolutely have a car sitting right in the shop right now that will be dedicated to an economy build. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, and I'm looking forward to doing it. But before I do that, Slaghammer has to get together again. Plan Z has to get back together again. Bottle Rocket has to get back together again. So it'll be at least, I'm going to say 2 months before I touch the gas mileage thing. Rocky Myers, Tony, didn't you build a small Port 360 for anybody a year or two ago for economy? Yes, I did. It's the one that Kathy drives. It's her daily driver. It's 72 swinger. It's got a roller cam 360 bottom end with a set of very, very mildly ported 318 heads and Edelbrock SP2P intake manifold, and it's got a 600 Edelbrock on it. And it's I'll tell you the truth. It gets better gas mileage than the original 318 did, but it's not really an economy thing. To be honest, I haven't really tuned with it or messed with it. It was like I finished it, I got it running, I drove it for like 2 days, and I handed the keys to Kathy. And this is, I guess, 2 years ago now, almost 2 years ago, and I've driven that car maybe half a dozen times. It's at the house, and it's her daily driver. So I'm hesitant to do anything with it other than and it runs great. But if I'm going to do something for fuel economy, specifically for fuel economy, I'm going to go all the way with it. Kathy has a great idea. What is it? Where is she? Let's do Mrs. Landy's a hyper economy build. Yes, I'm going to. That's exactly right. Mrs. Landy is going to be a hyper economy build. Now, what would be funny, right, is to do a hyper economy build and then add a full-on nitrous system to it, so that you could actually build like a hyper mile car. You know what I mean? You do everything you have to make it like extremely crazy fuel efficient, lean and right, really tall gearing and shit like that. And then like spray a big nitrous shot at it, and all of those things are going to work in your favor. So like there's I have a lot of ideas. I have a lot of ideas. I got to really think about it. T-Man put a 5-speed in it. Yes, I'm torn between an 833 overdrive 4-speed and like a T5 5-speed. I have to just see what's going to be easier to adapt. Abel D, UT, everyone wants to make more and more power, but they rarely ask about braking that added power. Do you have faith in vintage braking systems and have tricks of producing better brake combos? No, man, I use all my brake systems. All of the brake systems I have on all of my cars are dead stock, and I don't believe in modifying brake systems. There's a caveat to that, right? If you're running fast enough okay, so let's just say you've got a heavier car and you're running over 130 miles an hour or so in the quarter mile, then yes, aftermarket brake system, no question about it. But in my mind, as far as like a daily driver type of car, or even a street strip type of car, let's say a 12, even an 11-second car in like the 3,500, 3,800 pound range, typical. No, I don't believe in modifying the braking system at all. The manufacturers put the best quality systems. Okay, when you talk about braking systems, right? Manufacturers put the highest quality components and all regulated by stringent federal regulations into these cars. And I think that messing with the braking system of these vintage cars is it's a false economy. It's like just no. You know what I mean? I don't believe in modifying braking systems. It's funny. D. Scaglione, hang on a second. I'm going to come back to that in 1 second. We were about a month ago, right? Uncle Kathy and I were in my GT. Now the GT has 9-inch brakes, 9-inch drum brakes all the way around. Dead stock 9-inch drum brakes, exactly 1967 9-inch drum brakes. And we were on the interstate, and we're clipping along at about 70, 75 miles an hour, whatever traffic is moving at. And as we're coming around this turn, okay, traffic stopped, okay? So I laid into the brakes, I let off, laid into the brakes, let off, laid into the brakes. So notice I pumped them, okay, and then started steering off on the shoulder just in case they were going to lock. But the car just stopped, just like that, right? And I turned to her and I said specifically, and she's on here now. She'll right, you show me a modern car, you show me any high performance hot rod braking system you could put on this car that would stop this thing better than that just stopped. So, and she was like, no, it's perfect. D. Leon, Tony, I talked with Dylan McCool and he said he'd love to be on one of your lives if invited. He's invited. I don't have any way to contact him. So I guess the best way to contact him is perhaps he's trying to contact Kathy to DM on his Instagram. Yeah, Kat, get a hold of Dylan McCool. Let's do a live with him. FF, thank you for the super chat, my brother. Good evening, everyone. Okay. Yes, it was pretty crazy. All right. So Kathy, could that car have possibly stopped any quicker or any straighter than it did in that situation? Olive, drum brakes are indisputably as good for panic stops, but if you are braking late for corners, you will find limits. I don't brake late for corners. I drive like a regular person. I don't, you know what I mean? I'm not a road racer. I don't go swooshing around and stuff like that. Other people do. And for them, yes, they need to modify their braking system or do whatever they have to do to suit their needs. But the question was about me and what I do. See, and I can't, I can only answer what I would do. Larry's Angry Fish Ale House. Angry fish. I love that. What core mount ETs were you hoping for with the Slant 6? Is that project on permanent hold? No, it's not a permanent hold at all. I've got the motor apart. I got the crankback from the machine shop the other day. I've got the bearings and everything, and I'm just waiting to put it together, just in case I have any ideas or anything like that I want to try. So I'm going to wait until the very last minute to put it together. But no, it's not a permanent hold at all. It's just winter, man. It's winter. Every track around here is closed, and now January and February come in, and that's here in Middle Tennessee. That's when we get winter. So it's just going to sit for the time being. But no, it's not a permanent hold at all. I'm actually very enthusiastic about getting that car up and running it. Otto 13-3. Tony, that's not fair. You honed your braking skills in New York City. That's the truth. Okay, that's the truth. T-Man, did the boys get their cam in for the jet? No, not yet. Pietro Scorpio, you should have a machine shop in-house. No, because that would defeat the idea of this channel is to show as much as you can do with your hands at home. If I have, how many of our viewers have a machine shop? How many of our viewers want a machine shop? They, it's like, no, it would defeat the purpose. That's why all of the tools and all of the equipment that we use on this channel, right, has to pass the viewer test. Does the viewer have one of these? Can the viewer get one of these? Can the viewer do this themselves? And if the answer is yes, then we use it. And if the answer is no, then we don't. It's like a lift. I could get free lifts. They give away lifts. YouTube channels, they give away lifts. We get 1.5 million views a month, whatever the hell it is, we can get a free lift, no problem. I don't want a lift because my viewers don't have a lift. Trash metal and fun risks. We ain't decking our own blocks. Exactly. Give lifts to your viewers. Big Mike's Hoopty Bun, where I grew up, brakes were kind of optional. We had one stop sign and a flashing yellow light. I'm telling you, man, it's just brakes are something I just do not believe in messing with brakes. If you ever bother to like look into the federal standards for braking systems, right? They're crazy. Okay, they're crazy in their specifications. And the manufacturers all had to follow these. And I'm not talking about 1930s cars or anything. With mechanical brakes. So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about evolved cars, 1960s, 1970s cars, when these standards were really in effect. Okay. There is so much engineering in the braking system of, let's say, the typical 1960s or 1970s car, that and the materials used. These things are heavy, durable, like bulletproof. I mean, I'm telling you, they're designed to be bulletproof. They're designed to be idiot proof. So in my mind, it's like, why would you mess with that? You know what I mean? Are you smart? Like, you get the I have a good friend. I won't mention his name, right? Who does YouTube, and he loves doing these disc brake conversions, man. He disc brakes conversions, every freaking thing under the sun. Just throw a damn disc brake conversion at it, right? I was like, why would you do that? Do you have a reason for doing that? Well, that's what the customer wants. Why does the customer want it? Does he even have a reason, or is it just in his mind? It's like, oh, I have to put disc brakes on this car. Seriously, it's like they'll take a completely stock car that isn't going to be used for anything but driving and cruising and stuff like that, or maybe the occasional run at the track, and they'll stick a freaking four-wheel disc brake system on this thing. Why? I mean, why? Why would you do that? Let's see. If modern drivers do expect basically ultimate braking, they don't know what ultimate braking is. They're never going to be in a situation where they're going to need that ultimate braking. It doesn't exist. They're not going to be hauling their car. You're not going to take your 1970 340 Challenger and have to like repeatedly, hard brake from 175 miles an hour. It doesn't happen. It's not in the real world. It doesn't exist. Um, And, that was the other thing too. Okay, so for drag cars, right? So how many people build like a street strip car? They're going to build like an 11-second car, a 10-second car, okay? And the first thing they do is they put a four-wheel disc brake setup in it. So now what does that mean? That means you got to put a trans brake in it, because the only way you can load the car on the starting line against the converter is with the trans brake, because you took the seat because discs won't hold on the starting line. Right? But if you have drum brakes on the car, you don't need a trans brake. And so you can launch just as hard, but without the violence to the drivetrain. You think about it, okay? So when you launch off of a trans brake, everything from the drive shaft back is relaxed, and you have to shock it to go, okay? So you have to upgrade all of these components in the drive line to handle the trans brake, because you put disc brakes on the car. But if you've got drum brakes on the car, you can hold the car on the starting line against the converter and load the drive shaft, the ring and pinion, the axles, everything gets loaded. And so when you take your foot off the brake, there's no violence. The car just moves. You see what I'm saying? It's just people just don't think. They don't think. They don't think. Bush D, you should build a 4.7 stroker out of one of your Jeep 4.0s. I'm going to do. I have the Eep on the side of the house and on the side of the shop here, and it was going to get worked on, but I ended up doing the boat for my kid. So now that that's out of the way, where the boat was, the Eep is going to go. I got to do the transmission on it, but I'm seriously thinking about. I'm thinking about either, because I got to build the transmission in it. I'm thinking at this point I may want to swap it over to a stick, or I may swap it over to a V8 and just pull a whole Magnum and a Magnum and a transmission with a transfer case out of a boneyard and go from there. I don't know yet. I'm still up in the air on what I want to do with that. So we'll see what happens with that. Let's see. Mad Sexy Man of the Night. Tony, is the Jeep going to ever get a roll cage? Possibly. Dripping Glass, did you see Mag's got a 440 for a 62 Dart? Yeah, I saw that. Bro, I know here you build a monster engine and drivetrain. It's like, how are you going to stop it? Yeah, my feet, Tony. You lay him. My feet. Look, I just don't care. You know what I mean? Like, there are certain things I just do not care about. I wish I cared about them, but I don't. And I don't care about brakes, and I don't care about handling or cornering or anything like that. I just do not care. I wish I did. You know what I mean? I wish I cared about brakes. I wish I cared about suspension. I wish I cared about like ride quality. I don't, I look deep inside myself for that place that would care about things like that, and I can't find it. It's just not there. So, I don't do videos about those things. Joe Brennan, boom, straight line. That's all Tony cares about. Yes, I know. That's all I care about. Unless it's a daily driver, in which case I care about economy. I care about reliability and I care about economy. Starduster, I trust my OE drum brakes more than a dual, than a Chinese disc conversion. Yes, you've got that right. Automotive Carnage, thank you for the super chat. Hey, mate, I am after knowledge on the A-body. Why do the torsion bars have rubber boots? And what is the best install procedure? Thanks in advance. The rubber boots are there is because there's supposed to be grease in that. The rubber boots got grease in it because there is movement in that. Say with a torsion bar cross member, with a torsion bar passes through the cross member, there is movement in there. It's not big movement, but it's movement. And if it's not greased, eventually what happens is you're driving down the road, you'll get a eek, 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 eek every time you go over a bump. So the boot is there. When you put the torsion bar in, you're supposed to give it a coating of grease, and then you slide the boot over it, and then the grease stays, and the boot doesn't allow it to come out. The boot itself doesn't get filled with grease, but it's there to keep the weather out of that joint. The best install procedure: careful. Just don't nick it. Just be careful you don't nick it, and there's your best install procedure. Let's see. Olive, Dean does have a great question here. Not that I know of a great answer. I don't know who Dean is. Where's Dean? Dean Hollow. Tips on steering box adjustment, fine tune for slop in the wheel. Well, you can only take so much slop out of it. Mopar steering boxes have a jam nut and a screw. It's usually an Allen head, depending on the year and the model, but it's an Allen head. And you loosen the jam nut, you tighten that down until you feel resistance, till it stops, and you come back half a turn. And then you lock it out, and that's it. That's the adjustment you're going to get. But usually, if you've got a lot of slop, it's because the bushing inside is bad, and the slop is due to the bushing. Okay. Let's see. Jonathan Harper, oops, didn't finish the text. Reason I ask thoughts on NASCARs because they make 700 torque with these combinations. Like, people should research NASCAR stuff if they want high RPM power motors and small cubic inch engine. The problem with that is, okay, the problem looking at like NASCAR, okay, if you look at pro racing, it's like saying, well, things that I learned from a Nitro Hemi are going to work on my 340 Swinger. It doesn't equate. And it's the same thing with NASCAR motors. Those engines are intended to operate at a very specific range. They have parts. They have systems and technology in those engines that are not affordable, not available, and not flexible. The NASCAR engines are intended to work in, let's say, whatever range they are, like from, let's say, 6,000 to like 7,500 RPM, whatever. I don't even know what it is, but it's going to be in that range. And those engines are very, very, they're very specifically built, engineered, designed, tuned to operate in that exact range. Whereas if you try to take that NASCAR motor and put it in, let's say, a car that you're going to try to drive every day, it's going to be soft downstairs. It's not going to work properly. NASCAR is like Formula One. It's like any of these super high end, very specific application racing engines. It doesn't equate. Mad Sexy Man of the Night, Tony, how's the Miata coming along? It's just sitting there. There's nothing to come along. It's been finished for, I don't know, a couple of months now. I just haven't done anything with it. Do you bubble balance tires? I got a Lebanese guy a couple miles from here that does all my tires. I just drop them off and he mounts and balances them. I don't bother with that. Hunter Britton, My 51 New Yorker's brake booster went to hell, and the motor started sucking up brake fluid. I bypassed it for now. Will such a heavy car be okay with manual brakes? Should be. If it's the same master cylinder as used with manual, then you shouldn't have any problem. Mark Shaw. Hey, Tony, I have a simple question. What should I do about a cup holder for my single cab bench seat truck? I have a space between the seat and the 4-speed shifter. Maybe make one out of wood. Do you have any metal in the interior? Because they make magnetic cup holders. That's what I would do before I started making consoles or doing anything goofy like that. I would just find a magnetic cup holder, stick it to something, you'd be good. Jacob Marshall, what are opinions on a Lincoln Mark 8? I love mine, rear drive, 4.6, 4-valve, 90s muscle car that gets forgotten in 1983, set record 182 miles an hour in Bonneville Salt Flats. UTG needs one. I like them, but I don't want one. Otto 1303, Tony, do you run velocity stacks on just your project cars or your dailies too? No, I use regular on just drag type cars or stuff that's intended to just party cars, right? No, velocity stacks, that's all I'll use. Daily driver, no, man, I just use a regular air cleaner. Super Galaxy Garage Mark 8's are great. No body parts available though. And there's a lot of electronics in there, man. There's a lot of electronics and there's a lot of stuff to go wrong in those cars. Well, put then, UT, ever consider moving the steering trains and pedal controls to the back seat to be a real backseat driver? No. I mean, you're talking about a funny car then. You think about it, you put everything in the back seat, right? Drive from the back seat. No. Dodge's Garage, 4-degree cam advance on a mild 318. What can I expect? What kind of cam? And what kind of cam? What are you doing with it? Hunter Britton, no optional manual brakes in those cars. I took the booster apart to try and fix it. Only one I ever saw that had brake lines running into the booster. They did a lot of weird power brake stuff, man. Chrysler, and I don't know about the other manufacturers, but Chrysler did a lot of really strange manual or power brake things in the 50s and the very early 60s. And I'm not familiar with those systems. I wish I was, but I mean, there's a forward look site. The forward look guys are encyclopedic on anything having to do with 1950s, early 1960s Chrysler products. I would go to the forward look forums and ask there. Those guys will give you the exact rundown, everything you either need to fix it or replace it. Let's see. UT was the last movie you saw at a drive-in theater? I don't think I've ever seen a movie in a drive-in theater. Or if I did, I was like a little tiny kid. I don't remember. Space Time. Have you ever been in a Lambo? No. No. I'm a Lambo virgin. Never been in one. Jake Brown, do velocity stacks make a noticeable difference? The velocity stack is one of those things where I don't think. Okay, you can't really quantify it in a stable environment. Like in other words, you're not going to see, like let's say on a dyno, you're not going to see much of a difference because you don't have any air, any weirdness happening around the carburetor. It's pretty much stationary. But when you stick it on a car, the big thing about a velocity stack is that as you're going down the track or going down the road, air is coming in under the hood and it's doing all sorts of things. And the fan is blowing back. There's all sorts of weird airflow happening all around under the hood. And the velocity stack kind of isolates the air that's going into the engine or above the top of the carburetor from that. So it would be easy to create without the velocity stack. It would be easy for normal underhood airflow to create a low pressure area over the carburetor and actually starve the motor of fuel. The velocity stack will stop that. So the airflow is coming towards the carburetor. It hits the carburetor. The velocity stack's like this, and it makes the air flow around instead of going over the top and creating a low pressure area. That's really why you use a velocity stack. Dakota, ever use a K&N stub stack? Don't you have one on Plan Z? Yes, I do. Yeah, Plan Z actually has a stub stack to smooth everything going into the carburetor and the velocity stack. And that's mostly to keep the air underneath the carburetor from getting above the carburetor and give the air coming in from the scoop something to like funnel into. Hunter Britton, the booster is on the frame rail under the rear driver's side floorboard. It's completely separate from the master cylinder. I know, I'm telling you, man. I know they did a lot of weird things. Mopar Den, skipping the idea of disc brake conversion. If the drum brakes had a single reservoir master, would you at least upgrade to a dual reservoir master on a daily driver in hilly terrain? No, because if you've had, now see, I've had brake failures and everything you can have brake failures in. So I know the deal, okay? So here's the thing. If you got a single reservoir, everybody's like, oh, it's a single reservoir master cylinder. You're going to fucking die, right? No. Okay, you get exactly the same warning. You break you break a brake line, front, back, right? You get exactly the same mushy pedal and chance to pump and get off to the side of the road with a single reservoir as you do with a dual reservoir. And a dual reservoir is again, see, there's another false deal, right? Another false economy, because a dual reservoir master, when the one master is completely empty because you pumped all the brake fluid out through whichever hole is, there's nothing there except the very bottom of the pedal. I mean, it's anything over 20 miles an hour, you have no brakes. So if it's got a single single reservoir master or a dual reservoir master, when you break a hose or a line anywhere in the car, you get exactly the same warning. You get exactly the same situation. You'll step on the brake. It'll try to go to the floor. It'll slow the car down. You'll be able to pump it 2 or 3 times before the reservoir is empty and you don't get anything at all. And that is enough to get you off to the side of the road where you can get the car towed or whatever you've got to do to fix it. No, there is. I've had complete brake failure in both types, single and double reservoir. And I will tell you, to the day I die, there is functionally no difference whatsoever. Mr. Will, I think this is the most Tony has talked about brakes. It might be. It might be. Brown Dog, what year did they go to double reservoir stock? 1967 was the federal it was a federal regulation. So all of the manufacturers is a single puck until in 1966 and in 1967 they all had to go to a dual. Traditional fun rips. Except a dual, you can keep pumping up pressure and get some to the pedal. No, you get that same situation with a single. If you've got a single, if you want to, like make your fears go away, if you have a single reservoir master cylinder, take one of your bleed screws out, any one of your bleed screws. Okay, just take it out and leave it out. Okay, and now drive the car, and then stop the car, and you're going to find that you're going to get that pedal is going to go 3, 4, maybe even 5 full pumps, and stop the car before it actually runs out of fluid. So you get the same exact amount of time and effort to stop the car. The only time that you have an advantage with the dual reservoir is if you are so freaking stonad that you've got zero, like it just, your pedal goes right to the floor, but you're going to keep on trying to drive it. That is the only place where you've got an advantage with the double master cylinder. The single master cylinder will give you exactly the same warning and exactly the same chance to get off to the side of the road, stopped, and fix the problem from there. That whole single and double master cylinder thing is utter bullshit. I have had both. Like, nobody could tell me something that I've actually had experience with. Okay, and I have had multiple. I mean, when I say multiple, I mean like dozens, probably hundreds of freaking brake failures. Remember, I was a regular mechanic, so for years. So I've worked on everything, and I've had like an uncountable number of experience and worked with an uncountable number of brake failures. And I'm telling you right now, there is no functional difference between the two. Mopar Man 78. I had a scary experience with my 65 Dart several years back with that stock master cylinder before I went down a very steep roller coaster type hill here in Branson with no shoulders. I got lucky. Well, when the pedal got mushy, why didn't you pull over? You see what I'm saying? Why didn't, okay, don't blame the master cylinder, Mopar Man 78. When the pedal got all mushy, right, why didn't you pull over? You know what I mean? You're the one who chose to go past the point that the brakes didn't feel right and go down this hill. So don't blame the brakes, blame yourself. Ross Gardine, I have a crankshaft for a 3D3, wondering if it's for an automatic or a manual transmission. Is there a difference? The only year a 3D that you're going to find a difference in a 3D3 is 1971. 1971 3D3 is a cast crank, and they didn't drill the automatic ones for pilot holes. Manual transmission 1971 3D3s all had steel cranks from 1970. 1970 and back 3D3s, all of them are drilled for the pilot bushing. Did that make sense? Okay, I got a super chat here. Mopar thank you, man. Good deal. Makes perfect sense. I'll leave the Belvedere as it came from the factory with the single master and drums. Always worked well. Just many saying to change it. I'll leave it alone. Bro, like I said, listen, don't take my word for it. Literally, make yourself comfortable with the idea. Take one of the bleeder screws out, any one of the bleeder screws you want, and drive the car. And tell me how many pumps you get, how many stops you get before that thing goes empty. Okay, so don't take my word for it. Try it yourself, experiment with it yourself, and do that so that you can tell people that tell you, oh, you have a single reservoir master cylinder in a car, you're gonna fucking die, you're gonna kill everybody around you, you're gonna die in flames screaming because you got this. Then you can tell them, no fucking moron, I took a bleed scrap and I drove the car and I got 5 complete stops at highway speed out of this thing before it went completely kaput. So do it that way. So this way you don't have to say, well, Uncle Paul told me. You know what I mean? Do it for yourself. Christian perspective, dual circuit master cylinder will still work on one side when there is a leak. Drive one. Okay, drive one with a completely empty reservoir, and you tell me how much braking power you get. The pedal will go to the absolute floor before you get any braking at all, and it's going to be a marginal amount of pressure. It's not enough to effectively stop a car. Okay, trust me when I tell you, I have been down this road more times than you can imagine. Mike Batista, you never know when the ride to work on the freeway might turn into a Trans Am race. You might need them brakes. Some people like to do that. I see. I'm not one of those people, so I can't relate. You know what I'm saying? I drive in the right lane. I'm one of those people. I drive the speed limit. Whatever the speed limit is, that's what I drive. I'm not in a big rush to get anywhere. I'll drive 5 miles an hour over the speed limit, whatever it happens to be. I'm just not a fast driver. You know, some people like driving fast, and I just don't. So I can't. You know, I'm about acceleration. I'm about short-term acceleration. All I care about is how bad does this thing rock when I hit the fucking gas. And but anything over, like, I just don't care. I'm not a speed guy. Big Mike's hoopty bun. Craziest brake failure situation was a total fluke. The piston that activates the master cylinder actually snapped in two. My mechanic back then said he had never seen it happen before. I almost killed myself doing this one. So on a Mopar manual brakes, on the brake on the master cylinder push rod, there's a little. So this was in a race car, and there's a little rubber piece that snaps it. Okay, you have the brake cylinder push rod, and it has a little nipple on it, and there's like a little rubber O-ring type of thing, and it snaps into the master cylinder. Well, I changed a master cylinder, and when I took it off, that rubber disintegrated. So I didn't think anything of it, right? I'm like, I don't care if it's, I just don't care, right? But this was a race car, and it never dawned on me that it had no brake light switch. So the pedal had no way to come back. So I launched this thing, okay, and the brake pedal, because it didn't have that rubber in there, the brake pedal comes all the way back like this and pulled completely out of the master cylinder. And I didn't realize it until it was time to stop this thing. That was hairy. That was hairy for sure. Because you try to slow down after a run. It's like, where's the pedal? Oh my god! Right? So there was a lot of downshifting and swerving side to side and everything, and I got the car stopped. But yeah, I almost snuffed myself doing that one day. Mark Short, $10. Going to Carlisle next year? No, I will not go to Carlisle next year. Want to film a video of my Pro Street Challenger inside the world of Pro Street or something? It'll be inside one of the buildings, Blown 440. We're in narrow Dana. Mark, my friend, John Wilburn. He's one of the mods. He usually goes to Carlisle. I'm not going to any more events ever. So I'm sorry, man. I just won't be there. But he will be, and I'm sure he'd love to video your car. Mr. Boltone, doesn't your driving depend on what you're driving? No, I drive the same way no matter what I'm driving. Joe K. Tony wouldn't go to Carlisle if they held it on the front lawn of his shop. No, I'm just not going to any more events. I'm done with events. I'm not going to any more events. I've sworn them off. Let's see. Bush D. Hey, UT, what's your preferred engine braking oil? I'm currently building a Jeep 4.2 with a hot comp cam, 477, 493, 111. And I'm planning on using comp cam braking oil to give my cam a good shot. Yeah, the comp cam stuff is fine. Any of the braking oil. Lucas makes a good braking oil. I use on everything. I use the same Rotella, and I use a zinc additive. I'm not gonna, like, there's so many different zinc additives, but you can use a regular zinc oil plus a zinc additive, and that'll give you adequate for break-in. But yeah, the comp stuff is fine. Use it definitely. Let's talk about DD Speed Shop. Okay, they're great, man. They are awesome people. I love them. They make me feel warm and fuzzy inside watching anything that they do. Mad Sexy Man of the Night, Tony. What's the most common mistake you see when people are rebuilding a engine, any engine? That's a good the most common mistakes I see aren't really like highly technical. I see that people use way too much silicone sealer. Um, they don't understand silicone, so they just go nuts with silicone. That's the number one thing that I would say. And then the other thing, and it's like a pet peeve of mine, is using the wrong hardware, mix match hardware. Um, that I mean, but that, I can't really say there's one particular internal engine thing that I see over and over again. So um, Fubar just put the link to our merch, our wonderful, full color black and white T-shirts, hats. I don't even know what the hell we got for merch. Uncle Kathy and Uncle Chris don't handle the merch, but Fubar just put the link to it. So if you want any of the stuff, if you want to represent UTG, you know what I mean? Like show them, right? We flip pistons, bitches, right? There you go. You get one of these things, and it says, right? Okay. Wheelie King 71, holy Rotella tea shortage. I went hunting today. In 10 stops, I found 4 gallons. 2 Ace Hardware stores had 2 gallons each. Every auto parts store around me is completely out. Wheelie King, here's a funny coincidence. Okay, here's a funny coincidence. About 8 years ago, right? I had a hunch that there was going to be like oil shortages or like oil like disappearing, zinc oil disappearing completely in the future. So I went out and I bought a couple of drums of Rotella, and I've got them in a closet in the house. And just today, Kathy was like, "You want to get these things out of the closet? Maybe put them in the shed or something." But I needed to have my emergency, and I still won't tap into it until like it's completely gone. There's no hope of finding anything else. But yeah, man, I've already got. I'm a compulsive hoarder. Anything I think I'm going to need, I've got buried on the side somewhere. So. Um, let's see. Wheelie King, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Tractor Supply Me has one drum. I put my name on it today. Yeah, I'm telling you, man. Let's see. Need metal. You got hit with COVID for 4 days, fully vaxxed. It seems that the people who got the shot, right? It seems that they're more susceptible to getting it than those who didn't. I'm no scientist. I'm just saying. Yeah, so Dallas has their own. Dallas is with us in spirit, but he's recovering from the Rona right now. But yeah, brother, man, feel better for sure. Brandon Paul, how do you know what tolerances or specs to use when you are mixing and matching engine parts on a build? That's a good question. Well, I mean, obviously, the intended purpose of the engine, the intended use of the engine, has a lot to do with it. So things like oil clearance and piston wall clearance and ring gap and so on and so forth are really dictated by the purpose of the engine, what you're going to do with the engine. If all else fails, every manufacturer of parts will give you, the recommended clearance for whatever given device it is that you're working with. but that's a question that really comes with experience, and it really comes with how do you know, how do you know how much oil clearance to run on a given application? How do you know how much piston to wall clearance to run on any given application? And that's something that really just comes with experience, and it's very specific to each different type of build and each different type of purpose. So it's hard to answer, but it is a good question. Jody Calhoun, thank you, man. Who was the first orange paint, Mopar or Chevy? Chevy. Omicron is an anagram of moronic. I just saw a meme. I just saw a meme the other day, right? Or was it today? I don't know. I just saw this meme, and it was like, it was all of the symptoms of the Omicron thing, right? And it's like, coughing, sneezing, indigestion, whatever it happened to be. It was like these 5 symptoms. And then there's the bottom, this on the bottom of, they had a bottle of NyQuil. And the listing of the symptoms on the bottle of NyQuil matched all of the symptoms from like Omicron. Mopar, then, thank you, sir. UT, was Holley ever factory 2-barrel carb on a 72 318 or a Carter? What would be your 2-barrel carb of choice for a daily driver 318? The Carter BBD. They didn't start using the Holley until 70. I want to say 74. Okay. I want to say 74. I think 73 was still a BBD. I would definitely use a BBD over the Holley. And from what I understand now, those Chinese BBD replacements, evidently they're like dead nuts, and they're cheap. They're like $60. So I would just grab one of those. Wheelie King, real good question. The tolerances per intended use is stuff that is really hard to learn unless, well, exactly. Mopar, that's exactly what I'm going to try. Yeah, hey, post something on it if it works out good, because I got a couple of cars that, I just got sloppy old BBDs on, and if those cars good, if those carburetors are good, I'll just grab a couple of those. Olive triggered. Oh, no. Nobody gets triggered here. Nobody gets triggered. We're all right. Please don't anybody get into a triggering or triggered situation here. Okay. Dakota's timeout. Tony, do you have any cool stories on rare or homemade speed parts you've seen at swap meets or in the woods or in dumpsters? Man, I would have to think about that. I'm like, nothing comes to mind. I'm sure that I've come across those things, but I offhand, I don't know. Jake Brown, have you ever had a Ford variable inventory? I worked on them. They were pieces of shit. They were bad carburetors, very bad carburetors. And now see, I don't remember any of the details because they came out like 78, I think it was 77, 78, 79, whatever it was. And after screwing around with them a couple of times, just automatically replace it with a standard carburetor. And I think the had the same footprint as oh shit, I don't remember, but there was a direct replacement carburetor for those. Wheelie King, on the topic of oil, what's your opinion on synthetics? I'm not a fan. Taking too many engines apart with serious varnish issues. Not sure if it's from the oil itself or the extended change intervals. It's from the extended change intervals. It has nothing to do with the oil itself. I'm not a fan of synthetics, mostly because they cause leaks where you wouldn't have a leak with. And we just talked about this. Any engine that has an older style, like a rope seals, like a main seal, or cork gaskets anywhere in the engine, synthetic oil will seep. Synthetic oil causes leaks where there wouldn't normally be leaks. I don't see any benefit in. Okay, there's a benefit to synthetic oils when you're running engines with variable cam timing and stuff like that. But as far as the type of engine that we typically work with here, no, there is no advantage, and I would just use a regular conventional oil. Cork gaskets, yeah, anything with a cork gasket, stay away from synthetic oil. To space-time rope seal sound like an experiment that should have never made it to production. They worked great. Everything had rope seals until around like the middle 1960s. And some cars had them through the 70s. The old synthetic doesn't cause leaks; it just makes leaks that you already have seen worse because it flows easier. No, it actually does. Like literally, like a cork gasket doesn't seal all that well. Right? I mean, they're not the best material, and not only that, but it's the way they're designed. Like for instance, you take like an older school engine with a tin valve cover. Okay, they're not designed to put that much pressure. It's not a very efficient sealing surface. If you look at modern engines that are designed to run with a synthetic oil, they use a completely different type of sealing method. They'll use an embedded O-ring, in a thick flange gasket to keep the oil from leaking. And so trust me when I tell you, a synthetic oil will take a completely sound cork gasket engine and force it to seep oil. It won't pour out, but after a couple of thousand miles, you'll look at it and there'll be just like an oil film everywhere, and it's from the synthetic oil seeping through the cork. Switch back to a conventional oil, and that seepage goes away. I mean, this is something I've done time and time again. I'm telling you from firsthand experience, that's what it is. Freddie left you. Thank you for the super chat, my brother. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you too and yours. Thanks for sharing all your knowledge. I've learned a lot from you. I'm sure other Gen Xers have too. I hope so, man. I mean, because I'm dancing my heart out here trying to like get it all out of my head before I drop dead. So yeah, man, I'm glad you get something out of it. When I say at the end of a video, I hope you got something out of that. I mean, that is the most sincere thing I can possibly. I mean, I really mean that. I hope you got something out of that. Spankingham Vice Grip Garage once said synthetic was created for roller camshafts. I don't know if that's true. Only time I heard that. Yeah, I don't know if that's true either. Let's see. Wheelie King, it's greatly appreciated. I don't know which is greatly appreciated. I'm sure there are a lot of us to feel the same. Mike Batista, I hate spending money on brakes. I don't make any power. I mean, you spend it where you have to spend it. You know what I mean? Every car is different. Every driver is different. Every personality is different. So I mean, it's like you spend it where you got to spend it. Dakota Tom, Tony, have you discovered any performance tricks on your own or any cool ideas that you have or haven't tried? Have I pioneered anything? No. I'm thinking about this, Dakota. I found something by accident. I found something by accident. Um, I had a Honda motorcycle. Then when I was a kid, I was like, oh no, it wasn't a Honda. It was a Yamaha. It was XS 650. I don't know. I was about 16 years old, 17 years old, and it had a short. And if you hit like they like the wire was all jacked up in it. If you hit the horn button, it would kill the engine. And I found that it made it perfect for shifting. So what I would do is you normally you power shift a motorcycle, you pull up on the shifter and you just fan the clutch pedal or the clutch handle. So with this, you'd pull up on the shifter and tap the horn button, and it would kill the motor for an instant and just snap into the next gear. And it sounded just like an air shifter, like it was like perfect. And as I went on, as I got older, anytime I screwed around with a bike for performance use, I would hook up a momentary contact switch to one of the coils, because you don't have to kill the whole motor. All you have to do is just kill one of the coils. So let's say you got a 4-cylinder bike, you only have to kill one cylinder, 2 cylinders on that, and to just let the engine RPM relax just for an instant. And as the engine relaxes, the drivetrain relaxes, and it'll just pop into the next gear. So you can, so I mean, if I don't know if that counts for anything. And I tried that with a car too. I did that with a Chevy Nova, a customer's car. It spent more time with me than it spent with them, right? And it was a 350 with a 4-speed in it. And I hooked up. He had a line lock button on the shifter, and I hooked up the line lock button to kill the coil, momentarily ground the coil. And you could get, let's say you get 3 out of 4 shifts doing it that way. It was pretty badass, but it was too hit and miss. But on a motorcycle, every time, man, it sounds just exactly like you're running down the track with an air shifter. Wheelie King, you're dancing your heart out. I hope you got something out of that. We do. Oh, okay, that's what your comment was about. Okay, thank you, man. Vince W. Hey Tony, if the engine is backfiring through the carb but won't idle, is this always a timing issue, or it could be the carb? Usually timing issue. Usually a timing issue. Try advancing the time in 5 degrees and see what happens. Jody Stover, hey Uncle Tony, bring back Bottle Rocket. There's nothing to bring back. She's just sitting there waiting for a thing. It's winter, bro. Everything is closed here. Dan Edwards, I bought a 69 Triumph 500 chopper, $350. Really? Nice. It wouldn't start. The guy rewired the coils backwards. Buyer of the year. Excellent. How's the boat? We put it in the water the other day. Took a little lap with it, and now it's over at my kid's house. And he's going to do all the little things around the boat itself. And then when the spring comes, we'll bring it back here. I've got to change the water pump on it. What else I got to change? I got to put a bilge pump in it, but I'm not going to do anything of that until the winter passes. I've got other things that need my attention now. Wheelie King, what you are pioneering is how to pass knowledge that is not laced with paid for bullshit. It is the cornerstone of your success. I won't do it, man. I will not do it. Well, we were just talking about that. Kathy and I were just talking about that. We've got other channels. We're working on other channels under the UTG banner here. We're working on. We're launching another channel in January, and that channel is going to be different from this one. This particular channel, no, I will never do any advertisements. I will never do any type of, I hate that. I hate that so much. you tune into a video and it's like, they get 30 seconds into the video, right? And then boom, they go into this freaking thing for, like bulls waxing and insurance and all these other things, right? And it's like, oh God, that just turns me to fuck off. You will never ever see that on this channel. So, not to say you won't see it on other channels that we do, but you'll never see it on this one. How did your granddaughters react to the boat? Cool. I mean, I think they're a little young to really wrap their head around what it is yet. But they'll have fun with it this summer, and that's all I care about. Spanky Ham, good name. Do you have a recommendation for weight of oil for flat top of camshafts? There really is no. It's not weight. It's not weight. It's the additives that are in the oil. Let's see. Simon Cochran, what do you think about Whistling Dixie? I don't know what Whistling Dixie is. Lazy 8-Hole Ranch, you might as well get the ad revenue. I get ad revenue. We get paid very well by YouTube. I get ad revenue. I don't need any more than we've got. Olive, I don't know if that boat is ocean worthy, but that's not the problem here. Oh, seriously, that is ocean worthy. We don't have oceans here. I'm in Tennessee. We have lakes. You know what I mean? So the absolute worst thing that can happen is, they have to break out an oar and push it over to the, you know what I mean? It's like, no, a boat in Tennessee is completely different than a boat in New York or New Jersey. You know what I'm saying? Or California, where you got oceans, right? Oh yeah, you can get in a lot of trouble. You can't really get any trouble here. So that's why it's like no big deal. Just go out and have fun. Randy Smith, please tell us what you know about the Chrysler kit cars too. You mean like the Aspens and the Volaris? I don't really know much about them. That was like a circle track thing, and I never really got into circle track racing. I enjoy some of the I enjoy learning about some of the technology of circle track racing, but as far as like the kit cars and stuff like that, I don't know anything about them. Long live Bottle Rocket. Yeah, Jody, long live Bottle Rocket. That's my problem child. I love that car so much, but all she does is just give me trouble. Aaron Snare, any chance of seeing non-Mopar muscle showing up on this channel? Absolutely. I would love to have some non-Mopar muscle on this channel. My problem is I don't own any non-Mopar muscle, and I'm not going to buy any non-Mopar muscle. But if something was to fall into my world, like for instance when we did the Hemi GTX, Andy's Hemi GTX, if that was a Buick or a Chevelle or a Ford, man, yeah, absolutely. I want to do some non-Mopar stuff. I am itching to do non-Mopar stuff. You have no idea, but it's got to come to me. It's got to find me. And when it does, when the right deal does, yes, you'll see it on this channel. Jive Hive Jeff, Tony, you should make a series of books and sell them to all the auto parts stores that hire clueless people at work at the counter. You can't write that book. You can't write that book. Spacetime, are there any Uncle Tonys that do Chevys around you? Unfortunately, no. $672E Galaxy. Tony, can you make a coffee table book? No, I cannot. I can't. I do YouTube. And when I'm done doing YouTube, I'm going into something completely. I'm telling you guys right now, right? There's going to come a point. I'm not saying it's this week or next month or next year or 3 years. I have no idea when it's going to be. But there's going to come a point. There's going to come a time when I look at YouTube and I say, you know what? I don't feel like doing this today. And that's it. I'm done. And I will disappear just that quickly and easily. And I will go do something else, I'll go do something else. Open a freaking restaurant. Yes, Joe, I will. I want to. I want to. I want to. Okay. I want to. Okay. Now I'm going to go home, and Kathy's going to scream at me, right? Because it's just the way it is. But I want a restaurant. I will have a restaurant, right? Another one. I've had in the past. I want another one for sure. I want to do something with dogs. I want some sort of dog rescue or something along those lines. The things that I want to do in life really, in the future, really have nothing to do with cars. Like this is what I'm doing now. This is what I've done in the past, but in the future, no, man, I disappear. It's like I'm gone. Joking. No, I'm not going anywhere yet, bro. Don't worry about it. We still have I got a long way to go. You got a long way to go. Uncle Tony's high rev coffee blend. I used to roast when I had the coffee houses. I used to roast my own coffee. We even had our own label. It was called Screamin' Beagle Coffee. And we had labels, we had bags, we had all of that shit. I used to sell some of it locally, right? Screamin' Beagle Coffee. And I used to roast my own coffee. I made my own coffee. I can't take credit for this. I had a friend named Joseph, and he concocted a bread maker, right? He converted a bread maker to roast coffee in, and he used a heat gun. And we had this whole setup in the back where we would roast our own coffee using this gizmo. We could do a couple of pounds at a time. And I roasted my own coffee. I did that for a couple of years. And I had it down to a science. I had a Costa Rican, oh please. I miss doing that. I really do. You have no idea. I miss doing that. Tedesco 55. If you want to do something with dogs, look at having a therapy dog that visits people in the hospitals and nursing homes. That is a great thing. That absolutely is a great thing. I don't know what I want to do yet. I just know that I see dogs in trouble, and I feel like I really want to do something. I'd like to spend the end of my life surrounded by dogs. You know what I'm saying? I still have a few years to go where I can push myself like this. But at some point, I'm going to have to physically slow down, or not that I'm going to have to. It'll just happen naturally. And when it does, I want to surround myself with dogs. I want to be in a dog world, a dog universe. Space Time, get with Black Rifle Coffee and have them make a UTG blend. They're crazy enough to do it. Why? I would do it myself. No, I would just roast my own coffee. I enjoyed that. I mean, you have no idea. I mean, I really the experimenting. You know what I mean? With different blends and different roast times and just finding that sweet spot in the second crack. I don't know if you ever roasted coffee on your own, but you tune coffee by the second crack. And to find just that right combination of bean, heat, time, and that distance into the second crack to find just the right. You know what I mean? Please. And I used to go nuts. I used to go nuts with Ethiopian Sidamo, which is a really rich, thick, and a beautiful bean, and Costa Rican, just pure Costa Rican. I made some really good coffee. I roasted some really good coffee. Gabriel DeMarco, you'll be back. You're hooked, Tony, and all it'll take for you to hear is a lumpy Cameron idol. I'm past that, bro. I'm past that. Let's see. Nitro racing? No. I'm serious. I have no desire, like zero. Okay. Terrence Seymour, did you ever see the series called Dangerous Grinds about hunting down great beans? No, I have not. Yeah, radio silence. Hey man, sometimes I need to just chill for a second and just read a little bit. This isn't easy. Sitting there reading question and it's not easy. It's not easy. This actually takes a lot out of you. Racing dog sleds, any truck stuff. Again, see, you'd have to come to me. I have a couple of trucks, but nothing that really lends itself to content on the channel. Drive 5 Jeff, Tony, my buddy is trying to find ways to lighten his GTO. He asked me the best way, and I gave him the nothing is lighter than a whole line. He laughed and it opened his eyes. Man, it's true. It's true. Willie King, I know where you're coming from. I own a CNC machine shop. I used to get so sprung at the sound of ripping a block of metal into chips. Now it's just about the last sound I want to hear. Believe me, man, I know. It's something that's hard to explain to people. I've never had it. So I've never actually had a job. I've always been self-employed to one extent or another. Even when I was doing the magazines, I got paid as a freelancer. So I never had to punch anybody's time clock or do anything like that. So because of that, I've been able to do all of these different things over and over and over again. Like I haven't had to be in one place and do the same thing every day for any amount of time. I've been able to like shift into different things, different interests, and different adventures, and so on and so forth. You know what I'm saying? So I've done all of this stuff. It's like the average. Okay, so let's put it this way. You go back to like when I was doing magazines in the 1980s. So for a period of time, when I was in my 20s, there were periods where I raced 7 days and nights a week. I did the magazine stuff during the day, you know what I mean? And we go to Englishtown, and I would have, I was just talking about this. So we go to Englishtown or Atco, wherever and during the day, and we'd have the track to ourselves. And I'd run whatever project cars we had, whatever test cars we'd have, feature cars. I'd take those things. I would make run after run after run after run on an empty track. And then at night, I'd go home, I'd eat, and at night I'd go out and street racing. I did that 7 nights a week. And then on the weekends, I was learning the whole nitro thing, So I was working as a helper on any car that it would have me. So it was like all I did for 7 days, and all I did was go to and from drag strips. And so I did more of that by the time I was, let's say, 30 than the average person. If they live to be 100 and do it their whole lives, they won't have as many things. So you know what I'm saying? It's like I've done it, I've been there, I got the t-shirt, and I'm just next. You know what I'm saying? Kisbo, your life sounds busy. I have had an amazingly good life. Atco is right at sea level, I believe. Well, maybe like 60 football. It's just right at or just below sea level. I don't remember now. You checking out Doug Norton? Good night, Doug Norton. Thanks for joining us, brother. Happy New Year. Jason's Garage Inc. It's good to be Tony. I have had a great life. But yeah, see, it's in the Pine Barrens, right? So the air measures below sea level. The track physically is not below sea level, but the air, yeah, you have mine shaft air there. Dakota's timeout. Is there any careers you can get into that about old cars? I'm not sure what question you're asking, Dakota. Fubar put the link to our merch again. Thank you, Fubar. So you want any of the stuff that we sell? That the link is right there. Uncle Crystal handles all of that stuff, and Uncle Kathy. So Joe Cummins, Atco is about 30 or 40 feet above sea level. Yeah, I know it's like at, or I thought it was just below, but like I said, the air at Atco is just amazing because it's in the middle of the Pine Barrens. Atco consistently is like a tenth quicker than Englishtown was. I know Englishtown is gone, obviously, but I mean, I there were times that I would run the same car at Englishtown in the afternoon and Atco in the early evening, and there really wasn't, a great difference in temperature, and there'd be a tenth difference between Englishtown and Atco. Lloyd Walker, thank you for the super chat, my brother. Good evening, brother Tony. Give us the best 340 or alternative recipe to make the most horsepower. My God, how do you expect me to answer that question? Make the most horsepower in what situation? You know what I'm saying? I mean, like what budget? I mean, you talk about W2, W9, like NASCAR head stuff, or I mean. I know you paid for a super chat and you want an answer, but bro, I can't answer that question because it was just there's variables that are just astronomical. I can't answer that question for you. Terry CH, it's a great thing to hear someone say, "I have had a great life." Gives others hopes. I have had a great life. I've had an amazing life. I've had many trips to the wishing well. You know what I'm saying? Where I had different careers and different things that I really enjoyed and made my mark in here and there as I went along. And yeah, I wouldn't. There's like literally, man. There's nothing I would trade. I mean, I can honestly say I'm 60 years old right now. Well, I'm 59. I'll be 60 in May. And like, if like I'm not even exaggerating this. It's like, if somehow or another I ended up at a doctor and they were like, "Oh, you got 6 months to live," I'd be like, well, "Okay, I've had an awesome run. I'm dying to see what the next phase is." I don't have a death wish or anything like that by any stretch of the imagination. But I mean, I'm personally at this stage of the game, I can't wait to see what's on the other side because I'm going to master it. Cecil Gilbert, thank you, my brother. Space-time, some special motors were called mastodons. That was the Mylodon. There was the Mylodon Hemi. So you had the Ed Pink started calling the 426 an elephant. You had the whale motor, right? Was the 392, and then the Donovan, the 417, was the whale. Okay, the 426 was the elephant. Okay, the Mastodon was the Mylodon version of the aluminum 426, and it came out right before the KB one did. And the Mylodon 426, the Mastodon, was an odd setup, right? It was a 426 Hemi, but it wasn't a Y block design. It was like a regular block design, and then it had a one-piece girdle like the Donovan Hemi, like the early Hemi. It had a one-piece girdle, so the one-piece girdle was like a spacer between the block and the oil pan. right? Like where the cross bolts are. And that was its downfall. That was the problem with that block because it couldn't be serviced in between rounds. So that was the Mastodon. And they only stuck around for probably 3 years, like from 1973, it was released, 74, 75. I think by 76, they were completely done like with that. And it was all KB on the 426. But that was the Mastodon. Stoic Steel, mouse motor and rat motor were the Chevys, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, and the mouse is the small block Chevy, and the reason they started calling it the mouse motor is because this came from Top Fuel Racing. This was actually from Top Fuel, circa 1962, 1963, 1964, in that range. They were calling the early Hemis I'm sorry. The later on, like I said, they were calling the early Hemis whales. The late Hemis were elephants. The elephant is afraid of mice, and that's where the mouse motor came from. And then, of course, the bigger version of the mouse is a rat, and that's where the big block Chevy was called a rat. Ford had no names. Ford really wasn't in it. Just Chryslers and Chevys. Mopars and Chevys got the names. Don, Don Winnie English, are you doing a live New Year's Eve? Yes, we are. Okay, so the Junkyard Jet guys are going to be here with the girls, and the Junkyard Jet guys are going to be here with the girls. Al Castillo and Ethan are going to be here, probably with their women also. I'm not sure who else may or may not show up, but yeah, we are definitely doing a live on New Year's Eve. Hemi Head 68, thank you for the super chat, my brother. Good evening, T. Help me understand why Mopar big blocks require fuel vapor return lines, but say a 360 or a 318 V8s do not. You're talking about on the 1970. When did they start that? 69. The vapor return line from the big block is more prone to boiling fuel in the fuel pump. Okay, so picture this now, right? On a small block, the fuel pump is mounted in the timing cover. The timing cover is aluminum, and it's pretty much external from the engine. Okay, so in other words, like the positioning of it, picture this: it's forward, right, away from the exhaust, and it's mounted to aluminum, so it gets some air circulation around it. On a big block and the Hemi, the fuel pump is mounted to the cast iron section of the block itself, and the exhaust actually runs fairly close to it, so it runs a couple of degrees hotter, several degrees hotter than the small block pump. Because it runs hotter, they added a vapor return line to the big blocks in 1969. I think they started that. I don't think they had it in 68. 69, definitely 70, 71. But that was the reason. It just has to do with the way the pump is mounted on the engine and how much heat soak there is in the pump. Stefan Paul, will it be out of control drunkenness and mayhem? No, there won't be, because and there won't be, because I have to respect. We have a wide range of viewers. We have viewers of every walk of life, of every situation in life, and we have viewers that are recovering, that are from different things. Okay, and out of respect to our viewers who, let's say, are reformed alcoholics or anything like that, there will not be any drinking on the show. And it's not that I have anything against it myself. It's just respect for those who may be struggling at that particular time. But we get to watch paint dry. I can probably paint something. Man, so I painted. I had, I've got that 883R, right? Which I love that bike. I just love that bike, right? It's a piece of shit. I know it's a piece of shit, right? It's an 883 fucking Sportster. It's a piece of shit. But I love that bike, right? I just love looking at it. I love everything about it. So when I got the bike, it had a little shorty. It didn't have a front fender on it. It had like a brace between the forks. So it's an upgrade that the bike really didn't need. So I had a fender and I stuck it on there. It was a black fender. It was perfect, nothing wrong with it. And I stuck it on there, but it's like I can't. It's like it's supposed to have an orange fender, right? So the other night I came back here and I'm like, oh man, I got to do something. So I grabbed the fender, another fender that I had, right? And I sanded it down, I cleaned it all up, and I prepped it, and I painted it orange, okay? And I went back and I put it on the bike, and I'm like, I'm all proud of it. I'm like, my God, look how nice that paint came. The paint came out beautiful, right? So I did this all before Kathy woke up. So when she gets up, I says, go look at the motorcycle. What do you think? What do you think of the front fender? She says, it looks like a creamsicle. Ah! I missed by like a shade. You know what I'm saying? I missed by like a shade. The bike, the rest of the orange on the bike has a lot of red in it, and this has a little bit more yellow in it, and it's like, oh, she couldn't have said, oh, hey, it looks the finish is really nice. She couldn't have said that. No, she said it looks like a creamsicle. Thanks, Kat. Lloyd Walker, thank you for the super shot, brother. 340 with a purple stick. Purple stick means nothing. It could be any. Oh, God, hang on now. 4-speed GTS might switch to 5. Drag race and street drive as needed. Original heads with hardened valve seats, etc. Upgrade. Okay. Purple stick means nothing because that could be any lift of duration. Purple just means that it was a direct connection cam. They all came with purple paint. It could be any lift of duration. I have no idea which cam you have in there. If it's an original car, it's got the X heads. Those are hand-laid heads. They generally don't need much in the way of porting. Usually some cleanup in the bowl or a little cleanup on the exhaust port. You just on the exhaust port on those things, just the roof. Just clean up the top part of the exhaust port on those. Let's see. I wouldn't worry about hardened seats. Don't worry about hardened seats. You don't need them in those heads. But again, you see the cam. I have no idea what cam purple stick doesn't say anything. If you give me the lift and the duration on the cam, I can probably give me the specs on the cam. There she is. I said it looked nice. No, you didn't say nice. You said it looks like a creamsicle, and then you said it looked janky. Did you not? Did you not say it looked janky? Donovan, so on New Year's Eve, are you going to let people come up and talk in the live video? Yeah, sure. Thank you. You said it looked janky because the color is so off. Thank you. So I mean, like, Yeah, at least it wasn't sketchy. She could have said it looks sketchy. Will Buff ever return to the live feeds? Buff was supposed to be here last Sunday. And then he said, oh, I'm not going to come because I tested positive for COVID. And I'm like, I already had it. So come, don't worry about it. But I guess the message didn't get to him, so he didn't show up. Rust is lighter than carbon fiber. Yes, it is. Better than Gaudy. Yeah, definitely better than Gaudy. Pentastar, just don't run the front fender. I never do on Sportsters. That bike needs it. I'm telling you, that bike needs it. Um, it's an 883R, and the orange is, I mean, it's like it's such an essential part of the bike. Bankushi. I know Fords aren't your expertise, but do you know why Windsors supposedly crack at 500 horsepower? This seems to be like a myth or something, because I've never heard anyone explain the exact reason why. I will tell you the exact reason why. And it's not that they crack at 500 horsepower. You can actually, you can get 1,000 horsepower out of a Windsor as long as you don't get into detonation. Now, the problem with the Windsor blocks is that the area between the main saddle and the bottom of the cam journal is very, very, very thin. Okay, that's where the block, okay, here, where the block takes over the stresses. Now picture this, okay? So here's your main cap, and here's the bolts, okay? And the bolts go up into the saddle of the block. So here's the saddle of the block. And on either side of the saddle of the block are the bosses that the bolt holes screw into, okay? So, and then directly above that is the camshaft, all right? So all of the stresses on the block happen between the top of the bolt, and this is all blocks. This isn't just a Ford. This is all blocks. This is just a normal thing, okay? The stresses, when you get into detonation, the crank is trying to push down on the saddle. The saddle, right, is pulling down on those bolts. Those bolts are pulling on the metal between the bottom of the cam bearing and the top of the saddle, okay? That's where they crack. That's where it cracks. When you get a cast iron block that cracks, that's where it cracks. That's why it cracks. Now, the thing with the Windsor is it's front to back. It's thin. Most engines have a thicker front and a thicker back bulkhead, so the cracks will generally happen to be isolated to the middle three main bearings, or the middle three main saddles. But because the Windsor has a very thin front and back section, when they crack all the way through and break in half. And that's why you see those Windsor motors broken in half. It has to do with the thickness between the top of the main saddle, the bolt boss on either side of the main saddle, and the metal that's directly beneath the cam bearing. That's why they crack. I hope that answered your question. Let's see. Dodge Garage. I saw those bikes brand new and totally wanted it. The 883R, I know, bro. It was the same thing. Listen, I had at the time when they came out in 2002, I had bikes up the wazoo. Okay, I mean, I had bikes everywhere. At that time, okay, so I had all different kinds of bikes, but at that time, right, I had just in my stable, right, I had a TL1000, had a 900RR, and I had a Ducati Monster. Okay, so I had quality motorcycles. But when that 883R came out, when I saw the pictures of that in like late 2001, I was like, oh my God, that is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. And I needed to have one. And I know it's a piece of shit. But it's so beautiful. It's just so beautiful. I had to have one. So I just it was like, no. I'm not gonna be swayed by the visual, lust for this motorcycle. And then I finally gave in. 20 years later, I finally gave in, and I bought one back in September. And yes, I stand by it. It is a load. It's a piece of shit, but it's the most beautiful thing I think I've ever seen. There's only two things I can look at and say, without question, they are flawless visual perfection. Okay, right? Okay. The 1969 BB and Mulligan slingshot. Okay, the 1969 BB and Mulligan slingshot, the one that Mulligan got killed in. But look at the recreation of that car. The most perfect visual thing I've ever seen in my life. The second most most perfect visual thing I've ever seen in my life is the 2002, 2003 883R Sportster. I know, I'm nuts, but it makes me happy. Lloyd Walker. Okay. Yes. All right. The 340 purple. Okay. It's just the 68 344 speed cam. Yeah. Well, put it in 2 degrees up. Just put it in 2 degrees up. Perfect cam. Perfect cam. Yeah. Okay. I have that cam in my 73 340 4-speed Roadrunner. I have that exact cam. It's magic. It's all done by 62, 6300 RPM. You're not going to go, you're going to spin any past that. But in the meat range, like 3,500 to like 5,500, 6,000. Oh, it's so sweet. So yeah, I mean, you can put it in straight up. They work a little bit better if you put it in two up. But that's what I would do with that. Yes, the XR 1200 is nice, but it doesn't have the 2-in-1 exhaust. See, the 2-in-1 exhaust is a big part of that bike of this 80 of the 2002 2003. See, when they went to the rubber mount, right, and they did the later uh, R series bikes, they had 2 into 2 because you couldn't have the 2 into 1 on the rubber mount. So yeah, 2002 2003 is the only ones that I'm interested in. Bias Trapezoid, Tony, what do you think of the new 2021 Sportster S? I am so fascinated by that bike. I don't think I would run out and buy one. I'm interested in it. I'm fascinated by it. Uh, it's ugly. It's an ugly bike. So I don't know what they were thinking with that exhaust. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what they were thinking with that exhaust. There has to be a reason. I don't know what it is. But I mean, I'm fascinated by the bike. I would love to ride one. I'd like to spend a couple of days on one. You know what I mean? But I don't think I would run out and buy one. I think it's pretty neat. I think it's pretty neat. I'm sorry to see the Evo go. The Evo was such a good motor. I mean, in my heart, I'm an Ironhead guy. I just love Ironheads. Okay, but the Evo, when the Evo Sportster, it was Harley Davidson's, like, they went the extra yard on the Evo motor, and you just can't beat them. So and they've been around for so long. I'm sorry to see them go. The new Revolution motor, I mean, is it going to have that same? Is it going to have that same bulletproof longevity? Beat it to death and just keep coming back smiling like the Evo does? I don't know yet. But I am fascinated by the bike. I think it's neat. I think they're taking a step in the right direction. I am so sorry to see the Evo go, though. You know what I mean? It's like, you think about it, right? So the 45. So forget about just the Evo, right, or Ironhead. But think of it, right? If you go back, you're talking about a bike that's been produced, right? Now think about this, okay? I'm going to do a video about this. 70 years, 70 years of 45-degree V-twin unit, construction motor and trans together. Because the Sportster, you have to go back to 1952. You got to go to the K model. They didn't call it a Sportster until 1957, right? But you have to go back from 1952. From 1952 to 2022, okay, is the run of the 45-degree unit construction Sportster, right? So 70 years, and now it's over. And now it's over. They're going to sell off the last of the whatever they have assembled of the current 83s and 1200s, and then that's it, no more. And now it's going to be this Revolution engine, which is 90 degrees. So it's like, you know what I mean? I'm sorry to see that go. I missed a super chat. Baby V Rod, yeah. I don't see the super chat that I missed. I'm going way back. No, I got Lloyd Walker's, and I got Hemihead. I'm sorry, I missed yours. May I ask what your thoughts are on the 426 Hemi crate engine circa 2004ish after Daimler took over with it? Yeah, they're good. I like the way they revised the lifter bores on it, because that was one of the weak links on those engines. Was the way the lifter bores were configured in there. I like that they beefed up around the lifter bores on them. No, they're fine. They're good. They're good motors. Um, Nathan Kerry, thanks for sharing your knowledge with all of us. Well, thank you for joining us and absorbing. Thank you. Then get a few 45s for posterity. I have one. I have my 883R, which that's it. I am never getting rid of that bike. It's not even, I don't even keep it here at the shop. I keep it at the house. And if it's nice and it's sunny and warm, I get on it and I take a little fucking cruise and I put it back and it's nice and I just leave it at the house. And I have my 61 and I'm keeping the 61 definitely. And I put it in my office because we're doing a motorcycle channel now. We're starting beginning in January. We're doing a separate motorcycle channel. And so I took my own personal bikes and pulled them out of the shop over here so we could do the channel bikes. But yeah, I've got my 61, which I'm keeping, done, leaving it just the way it is. It runs great, everything's fine. But I've stuck it in my office, and I have my 883R at the house. So yeah, that's it. I will die with a pair of 45 degrees. Mr. Wiltoni, yes, I saw the motor he picked up. Yes. Or die with a pair of 45s. Yeah, no. I like the Kawasaki. There's nothing wrong with them. I tell you the truth, I prefer the Virago. Ugly bikes, right? But I mean, the Vulcan line is pretty good. The smallest of them, the 500, those are bulletproof, man. Those are bulletproof. That's the same engine they used in the EX 500. The vertical twins on the Vulcans. But if you talk about the cruiser, like the metric cruiser style, the bigger bikes, I prefer the Viragos, even though they're ugly as fuck. I think the Viragos are just with the 70-degree V twin. I mean, I prefer them to the Vulcans, but they're all good. They're all really good bikes. Space Time, how do I stay so trim? Have you seen me? Come on, I got this giant gut. I look like I'm 6 months pregnant. Uh, 672 eGalaxy. Tony, Adam Egret wants to know where you get your. I don't know who Adam is. Where do I get my ideas? The voices. The voices. Oh, that's true. Yes, the Vulcan is air cooled. The Virago is air cooled, and the Vulcan is water cooled. I was just looking through. Marketplace, and there's an 82 Virago, the 750, the XJ, what they call it, X. I can't even remember this now. But anyway, it doesn't make a difference. The 82 750 Virago, which was the first of the metric cruisers, and they're weird bikes. They look weird. Okay, it was like the first interpretation of like the American cruiser that the Japanese are going after. But I had a bunch of those bikes back in the day. They had bad problems with the starters, but everything else on those bikes, they rode so nice. There was shaft drive. They had a really cushy seat. They had perfect ergonomics. That 70-degree Yamaha V twin is just this torquey, happy, just like you could just ride that thing all day long. Zero vibration, like no issues. Torque up the wazoo. The transmission on those bikes, the gear spacing was perfect on them. The shifter on, like if you want to ride like. If you're not image conscious, right? Because a lot of motorcycle people are image conscious, and I'm really not one of them, right? If you want to ride a bike that's just pure goodness, okay, find one of those early Viragos, 82, 83, I think 84, the XV6 750s. The 900 was a piece of shit. The 900, they changed it, and they changed the electronics on it. They did all kinds of shit when they went to the 900. no good. But if you get your hands on the earliest, the first generation Viragos, the 750 Viragos, they are magic. UT, what's on the back of your shirt tonight? I don't know. I can't see the back of my shirt. You tell me. I don't know. I can't see back there. Aaron Snare, if you could wish a non-Mopar to fall into your lap for the channel, what would it be? Um, uh, Lately, I've been gravitating towards big block Chevy stuff. Any of the any 427, 454 car, I think I would really enjoy working with. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, or it's just like I'd be like, I would be like, there's not too many things I would like. I didn't see these changes. It changes because I could be in a different mood tomorrow. But just lately, I've been looking at you know, at Rat Motors and saying, boy, I'd really like to play around with that, you know, that or an LS. And I don't really have a specific, you know, I don't know. I don't know, but it would definitely be a Chevy. Definitely be a Chevy. Well, Parden, thank you, man. You and Kathy need to do a USA tour on a Trail 125. I think she wants a Super Cub. I think she actually wants a Super Cub. She mentioned it. Joe Hagan, $5, thank you. I have an 1873 1830 over valve job and headers. What cam and carb should I put on it? Joe, that depends on what you're gonna, what kind of cars are going in, what's the weight of the car, what kind of transmission, what kind of gearing, what do you plan on doing with the car, what's its primary purpose? Man, that's just you here, Joe. I know you paid super chat money for an answer, and I'm going to give you the best answer anybody could possibly give you. Call any of the cam manufacturers, any reputable cam manufacturers. Talk to their salesmen, okay, and give them all of your specs, and they're going to want to know every single aspect of this car, right? What converter is it going to be? What gear is it going to have? What tire is it going to have? Is this mostly street car? Is it mostly a strip car? What kind of carburation you plan on running on it? All of that, is it full exhaust, shorties, like everything. They're going to want to know every last spec of that car. You give that to them, and they will spit you back the grind that you need. Right? Honestly, that is the only way I can answer that question for you. The Drifter, you see, the Drifter was a nice bike. I like those. They were actually pretty cool. I rode one. I hung out at a place in New York. It was like a cigar bar. I didn't smoke cigars, but I used to hang out there, coffee and shit. And one of the guys had a Drifter when they first came out, and I rode that thing around for about an hour, and I really enjoyed it. That was a nice bike. Mopar 10. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So yeah, she was saying. Mopar 78. Tony, I know you're busy, but did you get the pics I sent from Instagram? No, man, I don't get any pics from Instagram. I don't have access to. I don't know what the password to Instagram is. I don't know how to work Instagram. I have no idea. Uncle Kathy handles all of that. I got to ask her if she's seen anything like that. Space Time, have you ever been out west like the Grand Canyon? I've been like all over the place, but it was always in a mission to get somewhere and get back. So I've passed, I've zipped past every like landmark you can name, but I've never seen any of them because it was on my way to a race or it was on my way to this or it was on, so yeah, no, I'm not really a sightseer type of person. the V65 Sabre Honda was a fast machine. It's a declawed VMAX. Danny Boyd, you changed the tire on a Chevy Celebrity in front of the world's largest ball of string. Dodge Garage. Do you use zinc every oil change now? Oil ain't the same for flat lifters. I use on a stock engine that's already broken in. So in other words, it's got a couple thousand miles on a cam, and it has like stock valve springs. I find that the zinc that they have in oils like Rotella is plenty to keep everything happy. I've driven hundreds of thousands of miles on flat top cams using nothing but the Rotella. On the other hand, if it's a high performance engine with a larger than stock lift, stiffer than stock valve springs, different ratio rockers, anything that puts more stress in it, then yes, you need a higher zinc oil than you'll find just in Rotella. It just depends on what you're working with. Aaron Snare, my 460 crank has flash rusted over the last few days. I hate when that happens. I hate when that happens. Should I do it yourself, polish it, or have a shop do it? Bro, if it's just flash rust, if it's just like, I know, it happens to me all the time. Scotch-Brite and the spray lube of your choice. You know, I tend to gravitate to PB Blaster, but WD, anything, it doesn't make a difference as long as it's a light oil. Okay, so just Scotch-Brite and a light oil, and just polish it out. You'll be fine. Mopar Dan had a 1983 Honda GL 1100 standard, no fairing, did an abbreviated iron butt tour. Oh, really? Could ride it all day long with a little fatigue. See, I've always liked that whole iron butt thing. I love the concept of the iron butt, but I would want to do it on something like there are guys who ride just the craziest shit on the iron butt. You know what I mean? So I think it's kind of cheating doing it on a Goldwing. You know, I mean, I'm not taking anything away from it. The endurance part of it is tremendous no matter what you do, but it's the guys that do it on like puck mopeds and shit like that. Those those are the guys I get great respect for. I never really gave the iron butt thing much thought until I was reading about this a guy who got halfway through the run. It was the Florida Keys to Barrow, Alaska run. It's 11,000 miles diagonally across, and because there's two different iron butts. There's the one that goes around the country. It's 11,000 miles. Goes around the perimeter of the country, and there's the one that goes diagonally across. And this guy, he got like half or three quarters of the way through, and he pulled over onto the shoulder, sat down, and died. And I was like, that's man stuff. You know what I mean? Imagine that you're in something that's so grueling that you just he just pulled over, he sat on the ground, and he dropped dead. I said, now that's a sport. Jake Burns just ordered a BFA block for my CUDA. I don't know what BFA is, brother. Joshua Hayes, hey uncle, how do you get power out of a 322 nailhead? I don't think you do, bro. I don't think you do. That was an engine to make power with in like 1959. Yeah, no, it's a great cruiser motor. It's a beautiful motor. The nailhead Buick is just work of art. It's metal sculpture, but it's not a hot rod motor. You know, it's not by today's standards. Jive Hive Jeff, good night, brother, and thanks for joining us. David Leonard at 75 GL 1000 flat tracks. I know. The flat track's really good. Ask the cop who was watching me do it. I tried drifting around on a Honda Valkyrie once, which is really the same thing. Tommy Ivo ran those. Yeah. Lots of people did. But again, see, like by 1962 or 1963, the motor was just outdated. It was just done. You know what I mean? Dean Stevenson, we found out where you got your ideas from. Well, you tell me where I get my ideas from. Good night, Throttle Davidson. See you tomorrow. Oh man, I've been up for 2.5 hours. Holy shit. Billy Bob Holcomb, shotgun Fords killed the Nailhead. Where'd you get that from? The Nailhead and the shotgun Ford never even crossed paths with each other. They're two completely different eras. Hemi Cuda, my 63 Rev with a Dynaflow would flash rev shift trip to shit all the tires at 50 miles an hour, Nailhead 401. You did not break tires at 50 miles an hour with a 401. They were good. Listen, good torque motors, but I'm telling you, the Nailhead just the way those engines are ported, just the length of the port and the fact, no, they're just not a modern performance engine. They're great grunt engines, they're great cruiser engines, but you can't get good competitive. And they're heavy. You're talking about 700 and some odd pounds. They weigh as much as an early Chrysler Hemi. They're great engines for what they are in the era that they were. They have been Rivieras. It's an awesome highway torque motor. They're perfect for that, right? But no, they're not. You're not going to, no. And the little one, the 322, you're not going to get any power out of that. Hemi Head, why do some Mopars use resonators just to make it sound better, or is it a practical purpose? No, just to smooth out the sound, to get rid of the drone. When you have a dual exhaust system, even with or without a crossover, when you got a dual exhaust system and you've only got the mufflers, especially with a bigger inch engine, the exhaust will drone. It'll like, as you're going down the road. It's kind of annoying, and they put the resonators in there to get rid of that drone. TCB Epfan, any new cars caught your eye? I'm fascinated by the Plaid. I think that's just amazing. That's pretty much the only new thing that I really, I've given any. That's the only thing that I've actually stopped new cars. The only thing that I've actually, like, if I'm flipping through YouTube, the only stuff that I've actually new car wise that I've stopped and looked at, and all has to do with the Plaid. The 409 is a cool looking motor. Yeah, the 409 is another beautiful. It's a work of art, man. The 348 and the 409 are gorgeous, but they don't breathe. Paul Cavazzolo, have you had the opportunity to ride Deal's Gap? I have not. Did it a few years ago. I have not. FEs are a work of art. They're okay. They're okay. Uh, Vince, well, from the People's Republic of New Jersey, what's happening, brother, man? When are they going to give you guys a different language? I know that's coming. I know New Jersey is going to have to they're going to have to regulate like institute their own language soon. Jason's Ciccarone, Ciccarone. Tony, I know you've talked about it before, probably, but what would you say is the downfall of the scammer motor? You mean the camera? The camera was answering the question that nobody ever asked. It was just overcomplicated. The problem was that it's overcomplicated, and it's a small bore engine. It's a relatively small bore engine. It was a 4 1/8 inch, and that's it. That's all you're going with that. It's just, and you can't compete with engines. You can't compete with the larger bore versions. Douglas Filer, you're having trouble with new meds. Gotta go. You have a good evening. We have a high to minus 35 degrees lower back camping. Well, Douglas, man, I hope you feel better, brother. Let's hope the new meds do their thing. Good night, brother. Sean Fagan, you're stuck in Jersey. Oh, God, I'm sorry. Hemi Head 68. Thank you. I appreciate that, man. Good night. Joe Brennan, you'll take Staten Island any day over New Jersey. Staten Island technically is New Jersey. You know that Staten Island actually belonged to New Jersey, and it was won. They had a race. The governors of New York and New Jersey had a race around Staten Island, and the winner got the island, and it was the governor of New York that won. I don't remember what year this happened, but that's how it happened. Well, Pardon, thank you for the super chat, brother. Yeah, good night, man. Thank you. I'm gonna pull the plug. I'm gonna pull the plug on this thing now because I'm done. I'm talked out. I want to go home and pet my dogs and have a bag of popcorn. So anyway, we'll be live on New Year's Eve night. If you guys can join us, that'd be great. We'll be live New Year's Eve night. We'll have the Junkyard Jack guys here and Al Castillo and Ethan and some other people. I'm not even sure who they are, but we'll have people here. So we'll be live New Year's Eve, and that's it, guys. Our mods, as always, thank you so much, Ari, Fubar, John, Zero. Thank you. Everybody who contributed super chat, thank you. Keeps the bills paid, keeps the wheels turning. Thank you. Everybody who contributed just with yourself, with your presence, with your conversation, with your knowledge, with your enthusiasm, all of that stuff. We appreciate you equally. So and collectively, you guys are the best automotive community on YouTube. Period. The end. Go to any other channels' lives and watch their super chats and stuff like that. Oh, not the super chats. Watch the chat, and it's like, you know what I mean? It's like, but you guys in here, man, you're tight. It's a great crew, and I'm proud to be part of you. Thank you. So that's it. So we'll see you all New Year's Eve. If you're not going to be around, Happy New Year, and that's it. I'm out of here, and I'll see you tomorrow.